Hello everyone, welcome to BhadraIASAcademy. So in our one topic a day discussion, we are going to discuss the latest announcement by the government regarding the Semiconductor Mission 2.0, right? So if you look at the Semiconductor Mission 2.0, we are talking about a total change in the ecosystem of semiconductor, right? So earlier what we were doing in 1.0 and what we are proposing to do in 2.0, there are some differences. So exam point of view mein, this can become a major question for mains examination about the India ka semiconductor mission, how it is strategically important, how it is also important for the evolving AI sector. From that perspective, we need to understand this topic. Also, another important focus here, if you see from our government's perspective, is the main thing is here, Make in India. This has been going on for almost 15 years, we can say now. Since 2014-15 it started, Make in India. So that is still going on. Right. So now if you look at the Semiconductor 2.0, why it is needed? That is the basic question. So already we had a Semiconductor Mission 1.0. Suddenly we are talking about 2.0. So why it is needed? What is the change? Now Semiconductor Mission, that is the 1.0, that is the first version. It was going on from 2021 onwards. It mainly focused on what areas? Like semiconductor fabrication, display fabrication, and ATMP, OSAT, that is the what we call assembly, testing, marking, packaging facility, and design linked incentive. These were mainly the part of the Semiconductor Mission 1, right? So now, although we are saying Semiconductor 1 attracted lot of investment, etc., but still, what was the main problem I highlighted here? India still depended heavily on imports, So that is when we realized, even though our mission was good, we are dependent on others for imports of semiconductor equipment, some specialty chemicals, specialty gases, silicon wafers, chip design, IP, then electronic grade materials. So now what is happening? The Semiconductor Mission 2.0 addresses these kind of gaps which are missing, right? So then it focuses on the entire semiconductor value chain, not just only the fabrication or assembling. Okay. So therefore I told you we are talking about the semiconductor ecosystem as such. Okay. So now, what are the main objectives of the Semiconductor Mission? The indigenous manufacturing of semiconductor equipment, which we were importing so long, now government bol raha hai, this we will have a local manufacturing of semiconductor equipment. Like for example, lithography support equipment, wafer processing tools, testing equipment, packaging equipment. So the goal, you remember, is to reduce the dependence on imports. Because from mains perspective, how exam question we can tackle, it is the strategic decision by the government not to be dependent on foreign countries for our semiconductor requirement. So this is kind of a Atmanirbhar Bharat, that same thing is still, we can talk about it. Point number 2, domestic production of semiconductor material. This is the very key focus of the entire mission. So it will support for production of silicon wafers, specialty chemicals which are required, and high purity gases, right? Then photoresist, then electronic grade materials. These are required for the semiconductor mission, like the rare earth minerals, etc. So basically it will provide us a supply chain security so that we don't have to depend on others and the fluctuation will not be there. Then lower production cost in India because of the availability of skilled persons, engineers availability. And main thing is again, import will be reduced and our dependence will be reduced drastically. So if the Semiconductor Mission 2.0, if it picks up, our dependence on import will come down drastically, right? Point number 3, the objective, we have to build full stack Indian intellectual property. That means IP, Indian intellectual property. So now it will basically promote the Indian companies in chip architecture. So the government has already given various incentives. It is supporting about 12 projects in the 2.0 mission, right? Then processor design, AI chips manufacturing, then RISC-V processor, embedded systems and semiconductor software. So the key point, if you see, instead of just assembling the chips what we were doing earlier, India now plans to own the technology as well as the patent. That is where we have the IP, intellectual property rights. So we will be manufacturing and designing it in India. So that will give us an advantage. And in future, the plan is also to export, AI and semiconductor, etc. Clear? Point number 4, another important objective of Semiconductor Mission 2.0 is to have the industry-led research center. Like we need to have a research on, semiconductor. So it requires a huge investment. A lot of money is required, this kind of a research. Then we have to have a testing labs. Then we have to have a collaboration between the industry and academia, so that there is a proper training, education, syllabus focus and all will be on the market requirement. Then main thing is also we should have a innovation center. So unlike the traditional government labs, these centers will be industry driven, so that what we can say, it will have a lot of commercial value. That means they will be practically able to produce something and deliver output. Okay. Another important thing, as semiconductor mission, AI mission all requires a highly skilled labor force development, right? That is very important. So now what happened, we need to have a various kind of production. So we need to have engineers who are skilled and trained, like for example, VLSI design which is required, chip manufacturing, embedded system, also the nanotechnology use, then semiconductor packaging, electronics manufacturing. Now these areas where we require skilled labor force, therefore also from the employment perspective, people who are studying such AI, this kind of a technology, even electronics technology, they do have a future, in semiconductor production and design, right? Number 6, strengthen semiconductor supply chain. So another important aspect, another important point. So the mission aims to make India a trusted alternative in global semiconductor supply chain. Therefore, I told you the plan in the future is to export, this kind of semiconductors. So it reduces the geopolitical risk which is currently being faced for quite some time, and it diversifies manufacturing, so the global economy also will benefit. So for China, like Korea, Taiwan, they are also leading in the AI mission, right? Then supporting trusted partner, building resilient production network. So now these are what we can say the key points that you can also use for your mains answer preparation. So when you get a question in mains, critically evaluate the semiconductor mission of India 1.0, 2.0, why it is needed. So all these kind of points you can bring into your discussion. Okay. So now if you look at the value chain covered under the new mission, that is the semiconductor mission 2.0. So there are different stages and there is a different focus. So when you talk about the design, we are basically focused on chip architecture, AI chips and also processors. Materials, when we talk about the silicon wafers, gases and specialty chemicals. Equipment, if you talk about, we need a manufacturing machinery. Now recently, just 2 days ago, Prime Minister Modi inaugurated one center in Gujarat with 7,500 crore investment. If you look at the Sunday news, you will find that, right? And when you talk about fabrication, we need to have a semiconductor fabrications, right? Then packaging, we need to have a ATMP, OSAT, I already explained that. Testing, quality and reliability, research we need, and skill, workforce skill development is also required. So now semiconductor 2.0 therefore is rightly described as creating the complete ecosystem for semiconductor industry development. right? Now some of the differences, if you see, between Semiconductor Mission 1 and Semiconductor Mission 2. So what is the difference between 1 and 2? Now one focused on fabrication, right? Second focuses on complete ecosystem. So again and again I am saying the key word here is the ecosystem for semiconductor manufacturing in India. Here it gave incentives for manufacturing in 1. In 2 we are totally talking about indigenous equipment and materials. In 1 we had a design incentives. In 2 we are talking about having the Indian IP, that means patent, manufacturing, designing in India. In 1 we talked about attracting foreign investment into the mission. Here we are talking about domestic technology, domestic industry, domestic players to benefit. So as I told you, 12 such projects government has approved, that Semiconductor Mission 2.0. So lot of our Indian based companies will stand to benefit from there. And the last one, initial ecosystem creation was the focus in 1.0, but in 2.0 it's a complete supply chain resilience, ecosystem and innovation. So there are some differences between the mission 1 and mission 2. So exam mein agar question aa gaya, you can make your presentation in this way also, right? It will be easier. So I'm giving you kind of a ready material for your exam preparation, right? So what are the expected benefits? As I already mentioned, one key thing is the self independence, self-dependence. So we don't want to depend on imported semiconductor components. That is the first benefit. Second one is Atmanirbhar Bharat, where we talk about self-reliance in technology development also. Attraction of high value global investment, still there could be open to foreign investment in India. Then deep tech startups, so new startups can come in semiconductor designing, right? New firms can establish if they have the scientific background. Creation of high skilled employment, so the employment market job creation will benefit. Then strong national security, because we don't have to depend on other countries, so geopolitical tensions will reduce for India. And position India as a global semiconductor hub, So if you look at here, government ka ye jo mission hai 2.0, it seems to be rather good, Now only thing is how the implementation will take place and how the entire industry will pick up, right? So now there are some challenges therefore. Now exam mein when you get a question, critically evaluate, आपको एडवांटेज बेनिफिट्स वो सब लिखने के बाद ये चैलेंजेस भी लिखना पड़ेगा, देन ओनली योर मेंस का आंसर राइटिंग विल बिकम बैलेंस्ड. So what are the key challenges you find here? Shortage of certain raw materials and components which are required, like rare earth minerals etc. required for various kind of semiconductor production units, right? High technology, restrictions are there, export controls are there, in certain countries such as United States, China and all. So there could be some kind of a challenge for us also. We need to build a strong, reliable, sustainable domestic semiconductor supply chain. It is not simple because the investment is very high and government support therefore requires a huge financial commitment. And lack of skilled workforce, in advanced technology like chip design, fabrication, equipment required. Therefore, upcoming students, उनका curriculum जो है उसको modify करना पड़ेगा. Therefore, industry, academics, collaboration इसमें होना चाहिए. Dependence on imported critical tools and advanced manufacturing equipment is another challenge because initially India may not have everything inbuilt. Right. So these are some challenges which you can also highlight if you get a question of critically review. Yeah, what are the challenges, etc. Right. So now exam perspective mein, this topic will be most relevant in GS3. So what are the topics covered here? Generally, industrial policy, science and tech related point of view, electronics manufacturing, make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, employment generation, supply chain resilience, strategic technology, national security. So you see all these areas you can highlight and discuss. how this topic is relevant. So from all these areas, this topic will be very much relevant. Therefore, I would consider this topic to be quite important for the upcoming mains type of exams in any state exam या central civil service exams. Now, therefore, I have given here questions also from the mains perspective. India ka semiconductor mission 2.1, it's a shift from just supporting semiconductor fabrication to have a complete semiconductor ecosystem. Discuss, examine how the transition will strengthen. So we need to prepare. So the key words here, how can you solve this question? Difference between 1 and 2 you can discuss. Complete semiconductor value chain, all the various components that we gave, that we can discuss. Indigenous material manufacturing, right? Having a patent and research in India. Strategic autonomy India will get, we will not depend on the others for geopolitics. And basically then you can highlight the challenges and way forward. So this is a broad outline how you can structure this answer. Okay? I have given another question also. Despite the launch of Semiconductor Mission 2.0, India faces lot of challenges, right? So here we basically have to talk about various challenges which we already highlighted. Question 3 I have given also, how can Semiconductor Mission contribute to economic growth, strategic autonomy, national security, right? In the context of Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India. So you see, question कैसा भी formulate किया जाएगा, but once you have a thorough understanding of the subject, it will be very easy for you to prepare your answer. Therefore, I have given this in a various structures divided into components. Okay. So now, if you are looking for preparation for any state level exam, central level exam, SSC, banking, railways, ADRE, whatever, you can contact us at 8638391721. Okay, for any further things you can contact us at this number, and keep watching our videos. We will come out with more and more topics for your exam answer writing. Direct, we will give the analysis for your mains answer writing type in one topic a day discussion. So we'll see you in the next topic. Till then, watch our videos. Thank you.